All right, so hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Josh. Welcome back to another video, and today we're finally going to be talking about some more Mill Creek releases of the Ultraman series, right? Uh, yeah, I'm sorry if I'm a little bit too bright. I got the yeah, I probably should have put the blinds down, so I'm sorry if I'm very shiny. So let me try to adjust. Okay, there we go. That's better. So today we're gonna be talking about so some of the Ultraman releases, right? So you guys know I love Ultraman. I'm an Ultraman fan. You guys know that. I just did a review of Dada, one of the bad guys from the original Ultraman series. So there's that. Yeah, very rarely do I talk about the Blu-ray Mill Creek releases. It's been a while since I've talked about that, but there is something, a couple of things I actually do want to discuss this because there is some information about these new releases that I want to talk about because I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, but I didn't get the chance. So at least finally, I'm gonna be able to talk about them. So in case you guys don't know too much, right? So Ultraman, yeah, it's a Japanese kaiju TV show basically from the 1960s, and they were widely popular. You know, they were created by EJ Subaraya, who did the special effects for the Godzilla movies back in those days. So obviously the series became immensely popular, but sadly he did pass away before he can even make like his fourth show, which was Return of Ultraman. But you guys kind of get the idea, right? Ultraman, it's a very popular series that's still running to this day. Currently the series, there's Ultraman Z that's still airing. I think it's going to end soon. It's on episode 23 if I'm correct. So yeah, you can basically see how popular the series is, right? But of course it is a Japanese show, so obviously when it comes to American audience, you know, if they like stuff like this, they can't really get like a nice threshold threshold of it, if you get what I mean. Like if you really enjoy, you know, like if you were introduced to Ultraman in one way, right, you want to experience more, right? And let's just say years ago, no, not a lot of people had that experience, right? It's not like Godzilla, where Godzilla, he's always the much more popular kaiju, and that he's much more famous in a lot of other places, especially in America, where people just want that. They want a piece of that giant uh uh honestly, his skin color. I want to say green or like gray or black, but honestly, his skin color changes so much. I don't even know how to describe Godzilla anymore. But you get the idea, right? He's more popular here. So if you want DVDs, you want Blu-rays, you want the merchandise, right? You want some of that of Godzilla, you got that. But if you wanted merchandise and movies and games from Ultraman, you didn't really get that. And I don't think it has to do with how Ultraman is not that popular. I think it has to do more with I don't want to say rights, but like just kind of like how, you know, like heavy-handed, like how the subject is, because obviously Ultraman, it's a TV show, right? It's supposed to be kind of like you're watching Godzilla, but in the form of a TV show. But it's not enough, not counting that Ultraman is very like low budget, so you get a lot of fake-looking monsters and all that. So I want to say maybe it has to do a little bit with popularity. I'm not too sure. But all of that doesn't matter now because finally, last year, the company, Mill Creek Entertainment, they made the announcement that they were finally going to release some Ultraman shows here in America. And, you know, a good portion of them have never even had releases here in America to begin with. There was only like maybe a few, not even. Like I'll give you the quick rundown of the history, right? You got like a DVD, like the complete series of Ultraman. I think eventually Ultra Q was released. I'm not exactly sure when. And then you did have Ultra 7, which also did got a release. I think the release was only for Blu-ray. It could be for DVD too, but I could be wrong. But you know, it was owned by Shout Factory, but now Mill Creek has the rights to that, you know. And then there was also Ultraman, the English dub for Ultraman Tiga. I mean, I forgot to mention they're all dubbed, but you get the idea. But Ultraman Tiga had a very weird situation where the English dub, it's it makes the whole show kind of pointless because Ultraman Tiga is supposed to be like kind of like it's supposed to be a unique series, you know, but it's made for like a much more older demographic, like teens and stuff like that. That's kind of the point of Ultraman Tiga being a much more serious and much more in-depth Ultraman, which would explain why for many people Ultraman Tiga is basically one of everyone's most favorite and popular Ultra from the bunch. But the English dub make the show like a joke because the show apparently I don't know if it aired, but apparently it was on like the 4 Kids channel, I think. It was owned by 4 Kids for a while, but the problem with 4 Kids Entertainment, I don't know if it's called 4 Kids Entertainment, but the problem with this company is that they were known for dubbing anime and Japanese shows, but just very awful and just terrible. I mean, there's already a whole bunch of YouTubers in the past that basically explain how terrible their dubbing is. And obviously, Ultraman Tiga is no exception because for some reason they try to make the show kind of like a comedy because, you know, like for kids and all that, even though Ultraman Tiga was actually a much more serious show. So basically, the English dubbing for Ultraman Tiga, it's more of a hit or miss type of thing. Either you liked it or you didn't. That's all I'm gonna say, right? But that's where Mill Creek kind of came into play because, like I say, finally they were going to release some of the like never before released Ultraman series, and this would be like the uncut versions, meaning you're not gonna get like some weird American version where they probably take out a lot of good stuff. You know what I mean? Don't you just hate when they do that? When they promise to release something and then they just cut off some content for no reason other than maybe censorship. But honestly, censorship is kind of a joke. Let's be honest. Nobody likes censorship, and censorship could just, you know, jump off a bridge. So yeah, so I'm gonna bring some of them right here actually. Just to kind of give you an idea, right? Because this is a big deal, right? This was a pretty big deal, you know, and it still is because Mill Creek is still continuing to release more Ultraman shows, and that is fantastic, right? So this is just some of the ones I have. There's much more out there. There's a lot of them out there, but I don't have them sadly, and you know I'm trying to save up some money to buy some more. It's kind of hard to do when you're in a pandemic, you know what I mean? And funny enough, that actually does kind of comes into play with Mill Creek because, well, yeah, Ultraman, Ultra 7, and Ultra Q, they all been released already, but then you have other releases like Ultraman Geed and Ultraman Orb. That is kind of another thing I want to know. A lot of these releases, they are kind of out of order. So if you're like, wait, this came first, and then that came set, you know, then it's just it's whatever Mill Creek could kind of get their hands on. It's all about rights. But the company Subaraya, they did kind of make like a deal saying, yeah, sure, let's expand our property. Let's let more people kind of get in on the Ultra action because there are people, including myself, that do like Ultraman, you know? And I remember even before these new Mill Creek releases even existed, I remember thinking, wow, this is such a unique series. There's like a whole universe and like more shows about it, but you can't watch them because there's no other releases. That's it. Except if you want to go for those Malaysian DVDs that came out, but then again, that's very tricky because that's very regional. You know what I mean? Like you sure you could go on eBay or whatever, maybe Amazon, and you could find like a Malaysian DVD of like Ultraman Orb or Ultraman X, but it's like, is it even gonna work though? Like on American DVD players, you know what I mean? Not counting that their DVD boxes are very weirdly constructed. I'm not trying to insult, you know, like the Malaysians people and how their stuff were. I'm not trying to do that. What I'm trying to say is that if you want to watch Ultraman, you couldn't really do that. You couldn't really enjoy the series without having to maybe buy a bootleg copy. But who wants to buy a bootleg copy? Nobody likes bootleg copies. Nobody does. It's bad enough if you go on eBay and you want to find a Godzilla toy. If you find one for $10, that's a fat lie. You're getting a bootleg. There is no such thing as a Godzilla toy that costs $10. No, I'm just joking. There's one right here. These toys are fantastic. This is good quality. Shut up. I know Playmates it was pretty rough during the beginning of the year, but calm down. Yeah, we'll talk about Playmates toys in another video. That's another thing I want to talk about in the future. But basically, the point that I'm trying to make here is, if you want to watch Ultraman, you can't. You couldn't. It's not like Godzilla. Godzilla's everywhere. You could literally watch all his films with no problems. Okay, maybe a few problems, but you get what I mean, right? You know, and sure, you have the internet where you can look at some Ultraman stuff. Like I remember at one point, somebody uploaded all the episodes to Ultraman Leo, to Ultraman Toto. I was really excited, but then the videos got taken down. I don't know if it was due to copyright reasons. I'm not sure because the videos were there for a while. But then again, YouTube, it's kind of stupid like that. Sometimes YouTube does kind of tend to do stuff like that, where they won't really spot any like copyright stuff until maybe later. Sometimes they'll get you right away too. Like there have been times where I've uploaded a video, and right before it even uploads, I get an email saying, your video's been taken down for this and that. You know what I mean? So basically, when it comes to the internet, it's a little easier, but it's also a little bit more difficult to watch some Ultraman stuff. Like I remember when I wanted to watch Ultraman Geed, I watched the whole series on YouTube, and I just ended up loving it. Ultraman Geed is like one of my most favorite Ultramans of all time. I don't know what it is. I just really love that show. Heck, I loved it so much. I remember I was doing a video talking about Ultraman, and I freaking accidentally spoiled what happens in the final episode. And I hate that I did that because, I'm the type of person that really hates spoilers. So for me to spoil stuff for people, I feel bad, I mean, well, people spoil stuff for me all the time, so I can only imagine someone just like me who doesn't like spoilers either. You know what I mean? So, yeah, there's that. But that just shows you how great these shows are, how competent they are. They really are entertaining, even if it's just a guy in a suit. But then again, Godzilla is just a guy in a suit, and look how popular that series is. Even though it's a little bit in trouble right now because Godzilla versus Kong was supposed to come out this year, and it was going to come out next year, and it might not even be in theater. It might even end up on Netflix or HBO Max. I don't know. I don't know that. I don't want to get off topic here because I haven't really gotten to the meat of what I want to talk about with the series. Because as you saw in the title of my video, I ask, is Mill Creek planning on releasing Ultraman 80, and what about their future releases, right? So the whole situation with this company is that obviously they had to gain rights, right, to each of the shows. And, obviously they're trying their best to release as many Ultraman shows and movies as possible, but obviously that's going to be very difficult. That's not a very easy task to do because because that all comes down to money, and that all comes to transitions and rights. And then, some of these shows, they don't even got subtitles. You got to add subtitles. Because I remember on Reddit, I freaking hate Reddit, honestly. But it's whatever, I guess. But, like, even on Reddit, people were complaining, like, are they messing up on some of the subtitles? Like, some of them are, like, kind of, they don't match right or whatever. And I'm like, oh, jeez. Like, it's hard, Like, Return of Ultraman never had an English sub before until now. So imagine that. Imagine how difficult that must be wanting to put, subs on almost all of the Ultraman property there is out there. And that's not even counting dubbing, too. Like, luckily, there are some Ultraman releases that do have English dubs, but most of them don't. You have to settle for subtitles. But on top of that, you gotta put some goddamn subtitles. You know what I mean? So it gets pretty difficult. So let's kind of get to the meat of this, right? So I've already explained these three, Ultra Q, Ultraman, and Ultra 7, they all have releases already before. But what's nice about these is that they're in HD quality. You get like nice little booklets that kind of tell you information about the show or whatever. So these are very great to have, even if you already have the original releases that came out years ago on DVD or Blu-ray. But let's talk about some of the new stuff, right? So you had, like I said, Return of Ultraman, which never had an American release before. Same goes for Ultraman Ace, but I don't have Ultraman Ace, but you get the gist of it, right? And then what about their future stuff, right? You got the new generation Ultraman, right? And Mill Creek is there for your taste for the new generation stuff because they also release a whole bunch. I hope you guys can see this right because I know that the sun is like killing me and it's probably killing you guys too. So you might need to lower the brightness on your computer or something. You got this nice little release right here. This is a Walmart exclusive, so in case you haven't seen this anywhere, you'll find it there, maybe not. And again, it all comes down. A lot of these never had American releases. This is their first time. These are all Blu-ray, by the way. I forgot to mention that they did not make DVD releases of this. I just thought I mentioned that just in case you want to buy these, but you don't have a Blu-ray player. If you have a PlayStation 4, it's just the same thing. You can watch Blu-ray stuff. Who cares? And Mill Creek, they were nice enough to even release Ultraman Orb Origin Saga, and that's an Amazon series. That's a show that you can only watch on Amazon. Well, I mean, Amazon Prime, right? I barely use Amazon, so I don't know too much, okay? But you get the gist, right? This company really does care about this property, and they want to make more releases, and they are. The only thing though is obviously, I mean, if you don't know what's going on in the world right now, then I need to ask you, where have you been? But as you guys know, this year we suffered through a pandemic. A deadly virus kind of spread around the world, and people are dying, and it's really sad. And that has affected a lot of people in many ways. I don't even want to go into detail because you probably heard it a million times from YouTubers talking about how terrible this whole year's been because of COVID-19. But it's true, it's true. It's sad, and that affects everybody, whether you're a poor person or a rich person or a person in charge of a company, sorry, or a store. Everybody got how do I say this without cursing? Because I'm really trying my hard not to curse here. But basically, everybody gets screwed over one way or another, and that also goes for a lot of companies as well. And Mill Creek was one of them. This year, well, they actually really. Not this year, even last year, they had like a little catalog kind of showing all their future releases, right? They were going to announce way more Ultraman stuff that was going to come out, but so far, only some of them have came out this year, not all of them, so it gets like, like Ultraman Zero is supposed to get a release, but nothing came out yet, same goes for like, what else? Those a couple more too, right? There's rumors of how the Heisei series, the Heisei era, might get a Mill Creek release as well. There is a lot of talk about that, but I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later in the video because I really, really want to talk about Ultraman 80 because that is one of the series that a lot of people are very curious to know if that will get a Mill Creek release. And there is some speculation that it might, but we don't know that for sure. So I want to say maybe a month ago, maybe they announced that Ultraman Toro will finally be getting a Mill Creek release, and that's great because Toro is actually one of my favorites. And they show like the side, right, the spine. So let me explain, right? Let's do some investigating, right? So as you can see in each picture, it's kind of forming into like a nice little picture, right? You got Ultra Q with the kaijus, and then you got Ultraman's hand. And let me tell you, just that alone, it's like, dang, what's with that hand, right? Then you got Ultraman right there. You got Ultra 7. You got Ultraman Jack. And then when you buy Ultraman Ace, it continues the picture. But here's where the problem goes down, right? You'll notice the way that they're formed. Ultraman Jack, he's like in the middle. He's facing you. He's facing right in your direction. Look at that. Look at my finger pointing right at you, right? He's looking right at you. So doesn't that kind of give you a hint? Like maybe Mill Creek is not really going to release all of them. Maybe they're only going to release like the main, like, how many, right? Like Ace to like the main 7, you know what I mean? And it makes sense, because like you got something here, you got 2 Ultramans there, 1 there, and then 2 more there, right? Because after Ultraman Leo came out, it came out in 1974, right? Ultraman Leo. Because after that show debuted, we didn't get any more Ultraman stuff until years later. Like, we have the show The Ultraman that came out in 1979, but that was an anime. And that it's the very first like animated Ultraman show, basically, right? And then after that came Ultraman 80. So there's some people kind of questioning, are we going to get the Ultraman for Mill Creek release? Are we going to get Ultraman 80? And the point I want to make with this video is that there is a possibility that they might make an Ultraman 80 release, but then again, this is only speculation. This sunlight is killing me, and it's probably killing you guys too, so I am sorry about that. So a picture they showed all of them. They showed Ultraman 7, Jack, Ace, Toto, and they actually showed a little bit of Leo, but the spine was blurred, right? The picture was blurred out, and I'm like, why would they blur it out for? So obviously that kind of gives you a little bit of a hint, right? Because look at Ultra Q. You see how his hand, Ultraman's hand, is sticking out? That means that you know that they have to make Ultraman, and then you're gonna see him in the picture, right? So my speculation is that maybe Ultraman 80, he's like kind of sticking out a little bit in the picture of Ultraman Leo. Like maybe you'll see Leo and then you'll see like a little bit of 80, Ultraman 80 kind of sticking out somewhere. Because it's very odd. Why would they blur that picture? Why would they want to blur it out for? You know what I mean? Just show it. We know Ultraman Leo is going to get a release. So you might as well just show us what it looks like. Like literally, how many times have I searched Ultraman Mill Creek on Google just to see if there's any new stuff? Because Mill Creek, they do that. Sometimes they do give you like little hints of what's to become and maybe even some surprises. Like they released Neo Ultra Q, which was kind of like a sequel to Ultra Q. And I was like, wow, I didn't know they were going to release that from Mill Creek. And that they didn't announce that either. This was just complete random. So that just shows you a lot of the stuff that this company can do. You know what I mean? It's like happy birthday, fellas. If you love Ultraman, boom, there you go. Have all our merch. Give us your money. I even made a comment about that too on their Instagram. And I remember somebody pointed out and be like, no, that's Ultraman Leo. And I'm like, I know that's Ultraman Leo. I'm just saying, is a little bit of Ultraman 80, kind of peeking out on that picture. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, right? Just to kind of see, because the problem is that we're supposed to get more this year. We were supposed to get more releases, but we didn't because of the pandemic. That affected everything. That messed up everyone's plans. So we're all moving to next year, and we're hoping that it'll be better, even though it's going to have a very, very rocky start. I'm not trying to get all political or anything like that, but Jesus, Lord, people, just please make the right decision. I want this virus to go away. Please. Come on. Just wear a mask, please, okay? Yeah, I'm sorry about that. But so one last thing I want to talk about before I end the video, so that way you can stop seeing my bright face, because I should have closed the curtain. I'm so dumb. But I'll move up. So like the other that's better. So the one last thing I want to talk about is with their Heisei release, right? So there was definitely some talk about, is Mill Creek going to do Ultraman from the 90s and early 2000s, right? That was during the Heisei era. And without a doubt, that was literally a lot of, people's like most favorite Ultramans. Like those were the shows that got people into Ultraman in the first place. Like the one Ultraman that nobody will ever stop talking about is Ultraman Mebius, because that is like everyone's like legit favorite. Like they're flat out favorite. Like if you were to ask anyone what's your favorite Ultraman, right? And then they show you like Geed and Ginga and Rube, and then those people will probably be like, no, I like Mebius. I don't give a crap about the new Ultraman. I'm like, oh. Because the new Ultraman, I liked the new generation Ultraman a little bit more better, but that's just me, right? But I wanna see some more Heisei stuff too. You know what I mean? Because out of all the releases so far, you'll notice we're only getting releases based off of the original and the new generations, but nothing for the middle. We don't get nothing from the 90s or 2000s Ultraman. So everybody's hoping that maybe that might happen. And there is some stuff going around that it is a possibility, but it is not 100%. And what that means, now I'm kind of going off only one article, because I only found one article talking about this situation. So take what I say with a grain of salt, right? Ultraman 80, we could have high hopes for. But if you're one of those people that want to see some more like Heisei era Ultraman stuff, be like, don't have your expectations too high, because it might happen, but it might not. So let's get to the gist of it, right? So the Heisei era, it goes like this, right? You got Tiga, Gaia, Dyna, Nice, if you want to count Ultraman Nice, which I don't think it really does. And then you got like those like straight to DVD Ultraman shows. I kind of forgot what they're called, so I do apologize for that. I don't know if that will get a release though. I'm not very sure. But there is a lot of talk about other stuff too, like Ultraman Cosmos, Nexus, Max, and then of course Mebius. Out of all of them, obviously Zero, Ultraman Zero is the one that's kind of getting a little bit of the treatment because he does have a show that's supposed to get released for the Mill Creek Blu-ray, whatever, but then it's not really specify what, because Ultraman Zero, he's such a big character to where like he has like movies, spin-offs, a whole bunch of shows. So everybody's like, how they gonna release all that? Because it's a lot, you know. So people want to know, but like I say, this all the information is just very constrained. We can only go by rumors and speculations. So that's why I said just take everything what I say with a grain of salt, because it might happen and it might not. I try to do so much research on this. I search it up everywhere, and this I'm just giving you guys what I could find. Because if you guys love Ultraman like I do, you obviously want more of it. So I'm trying to help see, how you can get more of it. So about these releases, right? So there was one talk about how they do want to release Ultraman Tiga, but they don't know how, because obviously there's a Japanese version and an English dub. But obviously, because they're like both kind of two completely different shows, because like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you got the 4Kids version with the English dubbing, which just makes the show like a joke, like a comedy, apparently. That's what everybody says. Like Ultraman Tiga English dub, they make the show sound like a comedy, but it's not a comedy. It's a serious show. So Mill Creek, they say that there was actual talk about doing two releases of Ultraman Tiga, one separate for the English dub and one separate for the Japanese version. And you're probably thinking, why can't they just release that in one like box, one release, right? And yeah, I was thinking about that too, but then I realized it's the same situation. It's because they're both pretty much two different shows. Like, what else can you do? You got the 4Kids version, and you got the original uncut Japanese version, that you can actually watch without some weird silly joke. Let's be honest, the only good thing that came out of the Ultraman Tiga English dub is the theme song.